What's up, guys? It's Albus here with Albus Tech, coming at you with a video, how-to, if you will, of a GPU teardown. Now, this teardown, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be removing the stock air cooler, here, in order to get it prepped and ready to install a full cover water block for water cooling, so that it may be inserted into a water loop. Now, this is a Asus Strix gaming version of NVIDIA's GeForce GTX 1080. This is what it looks like out of the box. It's completely stock right now. What we're going to be doing is taking off the we're going to be removing this cooler from the PCB in order to get that water block installed on there. Now it's not really hard to do. It's pretty simple. If you can use a screwdriver, then you can pretty much get one of these air coolers off and get a water block installed on it. Now the tools you're gonna need are a basic small micro set of screwdrivers, if you will. Nothing fancy, nothing special about them. I believe I got these for about I don't know, $8, $8 or $9, something like that, from Walmart. Actually, it's nothing. I didn't even have to go to a special hardware store or anything for that. All the screws that are used to retain or to hold this GPU together actually are Phillips heads. So I'm going to be using a Phillips head. I usually, common practice is I usually go ahead and take out the flat as well, because I more than likely will be needing that if I need to pry on something or get a surface, get one or two surfaces holding each other together. So I'll use that as like a prying tool. But yeah, so as far as removing the cooler, it's actually not that complicated, because if you'll notice, well, you may not be able to notice, but this cooler here is actually one big bulk piece. You may not be able to notice, but there is a seam actually here. This wall does not connect. This I/O panel does not connect. There's a seam here that rides all the way down there, and you can kind of see the PCB along this little seam here. And that's one piece. The PCB itself is actually this little thin plate. That's what I want to say. I guess the minority of the whole configuration. So we're not going to be removing any type of screws on the cooler itself. It looks like it's going to be these three here. These are only three that are on the cooler. I don't see any. We're not gonna remove these this IO plate. We're not gonna remove the screws in that. We don't need to do that. So it looks like it, from just my basic survey here, it looks like all we're gonna be removing are these back screws. On Maxwell there was 7 of them, if I'm not mistaken, if I recall correctly. But here it looks like on Pascal, looks like we only got 6 of these Phillips head screws. Now these 4 here, if you notice, they're on this side, and these 2 here on this side. Well, the reason for that is because these 4, if you guys have ever installed a CPU cooler on a motherboard, it's the same principle in a sense. There's these 4 here are surrounding the GPU die that sits right here in this little square. So those provide retention directly to the GPU die. Then you got, I would say, this side, this half of the PCB, and you got 2 more retention screws here that are holding pressure against the VRMs that are underneath this back plate. You may not be able to see it, but there's a line of chokes here, and there's a line of VRMs here. But that's what that's for. That's why you don't see them spread out. These little small silver ones, we'll get into that once we get this cooler off. But these little silver ones, those are actually screws. If you can see the little stub ends of them, but they're on the other side, and you have to remove the cooler in order to get access to those. So just from looking at this, it looks like this little sticker here. We got a sticker. Now that's more than likely going to be a warranty sticker that Asus uses. Pretty much it's out of a red circle, and if you puncture it, it's going to void the warranty, because more than likely Asus, they don't want you to do any type of physical alteration to these graphics cards, and physical alteration including removing the cooler from the PCB. So we're going to be installing the water block. We're going to have to take the cooler off. They're going to void the warranty, yada, 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 boo. No one wants to hear that. So keep that in mind if you guys are going to be doing this. You more than likely will void your warranty just from me looking at that, because I'm going to have to puncture it in order to get that screw off. So bear that in mind. If you guys don't want to void your warranty, then you may want to think twice about some other alternatives as far as cooling. Water cooling may not be your thing, your option, if your warranty is something that you want to have everlasting through the lifetime of your card, or for however long that Asus warrants a VGA adapter. But anyways, so let's go ahead and puncture that bye-bye warranty. Go ahead and get this one screwed out. And it's pretty simple. I like to remove these screws in a star pattern, because star pattern applies even pressure. It's a practice that's used to install pressure components that are pressure sensitive. Thermal paste being pressure sensitive, to get an even spread, you want to install in the star pattern. So I'll take them off in the star pattern just to kind of make it uniform. I don't want to take them off in some crazy kind of way. It doesn't really matter. It's just a practice that I use, that I've been using. It's a good practice, if you ask me. If you're gonna install it in one way, you might not do it in reverse, right? So yeah, we're going ahead and get these. This is going to be the fourth of the 4 GPU die surrounding screws. Now we're going to go ahead and take these 2 off of the side where the VRMs and the chokes are located. It's only 6 here, so we're not taking apart a Rolex or anything. It's probably, I don't know how many tens of 20s of screws. 6 screws is all we're going to be needing. Come on out of there. All right. So there's 6. Looks like that's going to be all. So now we got these 6 removed. I don't see any other screws that are going to be required. That's retaining the cooler to this this PCB. So all I have to do now is simply lift the PCB away from the cooler. Now I do this, I guess in a sense of, say, taking the roof off or taking the hat off of the cooler. I don't want to take the cooler off of the PCB, because the cooler is substantially heavier than the PCB, and it's a possibility if you're taking it off and you're trying to poise yourself, and you want to do it really carefully, and there's a possibility if you dropping the actual cooler onto the PCB and the resting VRMs and chokes or whatever, you could damage one. You could strike an area of the PCB that may ruin a trace or something like that. So I like to take them. I like to take it off PCB upward. I'm just going to kind of see if I can loosen this thing up. There's thermal paste on it that's more than likely cured by now. So it's gonna be a little bit of a. It's gonna feel like it's not moving, but it'll move. It'll come off. If you just, oh, there we go. Just what I did is, you notice I kind of went over here, and I kind of went over there, and kind of went over there. You want to do that kind of all around and just give it a little play, so that it'll come straight off like it did. Once that thermal paste has let go of that, and the thermal pads actually, once they have let go, got one hanging down here. Let me just get that one back up, because I don't want it to come off all crazy. Okay, it kind of ripped a little bit, it looks like. Let me just pull it down. Come on off. Yeah, this one must have been heated up quite a bit, quite good. Its mating behavior is really, I would say, dry. Usually it sticks like that when it's dry. But as I was saying, once that thermal paste has gave way, you can go ahead and just lift it straight off, as you saw me do here. And there's thermal pads, like I said, on the that are on the VRM, so you gotta kind of watch out for that too. Usually, if it's too dry, if it's lacking moisture, it'll be harder for it'll mate even more. It has some sort of moisture to it. See even that back up. It has a little bit of moisture to it, but once you get too dry, it'll be harder. Same thing with thermal paste. The more it cures, the harder it is for you to take it off. So okay, now here we go. If you look over here, we've got some cables that are more than likely the cables that are driving the cooler fans, and the cables this cooler has LEDs on it. The cables that are powering the LEDs. So you want to make sure that when you're taking this, when you're removing a PCB from a cooler, depending on the manufacturer, this cable may have more or less length to it, or tension on it. So you got to be mindful of that, because if you remove it too fast, well, you could possibly ruin the connector, ruin the cable, strip it, or it may not be any good if you go to install that PCB back to the original stock cooler. It just won't work anymore because of that ruined cable. So we're gonna go ahead and see from the looks of these. Okay, I think I see how these come off. Looks like I got like a bit of a. These connectors actually have like a tail on them. Okay, guys, so had a bit of a transition there. So what I went ahead and did was I separated these two cables here. One of them power the LEDs for the cooler, and one of them was powering the fans here. That's what they actually control via the software. So I went ahead and disconnected these. There weren't any more wires or cables to be connected, so we got that free of the actual PCB. Put it over here. We got that free of the actual PCB. So now all we got left is the PCB and the back plate. Now I won't be needing to remove the back plate on this card, because the water block that I use, what I'm going to be using, they actually allow for the stock backplate to be installed directly to their water block. Now, all water block manufacturers do not do this. Some of them require you to purchase their specific backplate. But the manufacturer that I chose, they didn't. So that was one of the reasons why I chose the one that I did. But if you find yourself needing to remove the backplate, it looks like there's this. Remember that side I showed you that had these screw seats that weren't accessible unless you remove the stock cooler. Now those screw heads are here. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Now those 12 screws are what's holding this back plate together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. They're holding that back plate together. Now what I'm seeing here is looks like NVIDIA or Asus, I believe it's NVIDIA's design. They've actually installed a heatsink that goes along the RAM chips, or the GDR5X RAM. This wasn't included. This wasn't incorporated in the Maxwell. This is a Pascal only. But this heatsink actually sits along the RAM chips. There's thermal pads under there. I don't know if you can see those, but there's thermal pads under there. And they go ahead and they're used to go ahead and cool off those RAM chips. But yeah, once you remove those screws, the back plate will be free to come off of this PCB, and you can install your aftermarket back plate, which will most likely come with your water block, or if you purchase it separately. One thing you will not be needing to do is remove the IO screws, the retention screws. These are what's actually holding, giving rigidity to the inputs here. So those are not going to be needing to come off. You should be able to remove the back plate without touching those. I've never had to touch them. I doubt you will either. But that's it. That looks like we accomplished what we were after. So the next video, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how to install a full cover water block to one of these cards. So make sure you stay tuned, like, comment, and subscribe. Alvis Tech here, showing you guys how to do these extreme things, I guess you want to say. Some people may not feel comfortable altering a GPU's physical state in this matter. So we're going to go ahead and show you guys how to do this type of stuff. Hopefully you stay tuned. Follow me along the journey, the water cooling journey that I'm on currently. You're going to be seeing more content of the rig that I'm currently water cooling, or revising, if you will, kind of revamping it. You'll see more details on that later. So again, stay tuned, like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you guys next time.